Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back. We are continuing with the discussion in our program, The Point. And we are blessed to have been joined by the 8th President of the Institute of Certified Public Accounts of Uganda, Mr. Frederick Chibedi. We are happy to be with you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
And
Thank you
yes,
for having me.
Yes, sir. You found us, and we're happy to join by you while discussing our topic, that is resolving the increased inflation question. The reason why you call it a question, there are many people asking different questions and also giving different opinions. When you go into the public right now, some are giving it in form of even a complaint. We are unable to pay school fees for our children because the economy, it has threatened us terribly. And a number of reasons have been given by different economic analysts. Some they say the COVID-19 left a gap. Others they say the Ukraine war. There are some of the views which I differ with, because when we go into matters of economy, production remains key. You're not producing. If you're not producing, whether there is COVID or no COVID, then there will be danger. Whether there is a Ukraine war or no war, there will be danger. I would not like to go into the in-depth of the discussion. Since you are tonight guest and having had experience of what you've been doing in this platform of certified public accounts, Uganda needs a streamlined environment where our resources must be used for the rightful purpose, that is for economic production and development. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I am also honored to share a platform with Dr. Chisembo.
Thank you so much, sir.
I think there is value that comes from listening to him and listening to what we have to say, and really I appreciate being here.
Yes, you can proceed on. Our question is, can the fiscal policy reforms stabilize the money economy and the inflation that is in Uganda? We are now in the second digit, and we are not comfortable. We are saying, what can we do, which way to go?
That's the question. I read the Bureau of Statistics report for October, and I have also read that the government of Uganda is moving to borrow more money from commercial banks to be able to bridge up the cash trap in which they are. And the question is, when inflation goes to double digits, is it good for the country? There's some inflation that is good, economists will tell you, but when it becomes double digit, what does that mean for us? And of course, the average Ugandan and the normal person doing business is asking questions as to where this is leading us to. If you see fuel prices going up, food prices going up, everything is going up. The inputs into production, as it were, are all rising up, and therefore making unpredictable the prices that they are going to charge their customers for the goods and services they're offering. And in itself lends the question, is government doing enough, or is what government doing going to stabilize the economy? Because we need this economy stabilized. If you speak to the average person, there is now the number one they call it economy. Economy. Everybody you speak to say economy. It has become a traditional one, because everybody is feeling the bite. And you see, the thing with the statistics, which I don't fancy very much, is the statistics we pick as a sample. It had better be representative of the population from which it is picked. To say that we are this rich, you've taken an average of Dr. Chisembo, who has 10 million, and me, who has 1 million, and you say together we are 11 million rich.
Then our GDP is now increased.
And those things do not make much sense to the ordinary person.
Yes, sir.
And as a result of that, we need to start and have a discussion, probably have a conversation with the policymakers about what is happening and how they are dealing with the issue. Some of the things, by the way, it's because of absence of data, absence of hindsight, of the things that the policymakers do take positions on, and then we find ourselves in a lacuna. So really, I think the question for us to discuss tonight is really the interventions that government is undertaking. Are they going to bring us to a place where we say, this is it? Or do we need to challenge ourselves to think more, to create a think tank for ourselves, to think more about how do we liberate ourselves? My deep thought is really about production and consumption, because that's what drives the economy. If you're not producing, there is no way you're going to cry and say this is going haywire without having something tangible to produce. I'm lucky to have been born probably earlier than the two of you. I was here in the. I was in primary in the 80s. I did my primary in 1985. And you know, those days you would see what they used to call production. Grow more cotton, grow more coffee. The cooperatives were working, the producer cooperatives were working, and you could see that somebody, you know, we went to school, very expensive schools. I went to Mwiri, but I could not have gone to Mwiri without my father selling coffee. Depositing it in the society, what you call the society, and then getting that receipt and taking it to the headmaster and say, look, wait, when the money comes, the school fees will be paid. And that kind of credit system now long collapsed. So what happens is the people are detached from the reality of what is expected to happen. Everybody is folding their hands, like you said. Nobody is producing, because I think there is a point to which we reached and felt like, let's wait, government is going to give us this money. And the money is kept on coming. Whenever Gagawale, Operation Wealth Creation, all these things came, and they were in themselves creating an atmosphere of thinking that there should be free money somewhere, and therefore, even if we don't produce, government will be there for us to be able to give us the money, put it in our pockets, and that in itself is very dangerous. So yes, the drive to production is one of the most important aspects of what we should be thinking about. And in my day-to-day life, I audit businesses. I just don't look at who spent how much money where, but I ask the strategic question on how are you going to survive tomorrow? What have you done?
How are you going to survive tomorrow?
Yes. What are the strategies you have put in place to survive tomorrow? Yes, I can see you earn so much money this year, but is it sustainable? If it's not sustainable, what's your risk management framework that you put in place to make sure that tomorrow, when those risks that you don't know about now materialize, you should be able to continue to survive the tide and create the product for tomorrow?
Let me build on that. It is a very interesting one. The question, how are you going to survive tomorrow? We would like to measure or analyze that question at an individual or a homestead level, and also at the national level government. And because in this process, we realize most of our people are surviving on loans. And yet the loans are not, it's not a sustainable approach to lead someone to survive. It is much more risky. Yet for the country of recent, which is still a surprise to many of us, including myself here, where the government is supposed to be the one giving credit to the private sector, that has gone out to borrow 1.7, right? 8 trillion from the private sector. Where are we going? And in the midst of where the loan, the level of loan, the national debt burden is already over a seal which we are required of. And with the total amount that is known to us, according to the reports, 75 trillion, which is being a major debt that is on table to be paid. So you asked the question, sir, I failed to take it back to you in 2 minutes. How are we going to survive tomorrow with such a situation? Schools, those who are proprietors of schools, they are selling them. Government is running the private sector. And it seems some politicians seem to be dancing around saying that things are okay. I'd like to hear you about your concerns.
I think until the point in time when we realize that the future is not as plain as we think, and we can no longer afford to take it by chance. The fortunate thing about our generation now is that we have data. We can look at that data, analyze it, and understand where we are going and devise strategies and means of survival in that future. What I do on a day-to-day basis is to challenge management to say, okay, I've seen these numbers, they are very good numbers, but have you thought about what might happen if people stop demanding your product? What will happen? The other day I was challenging a national corporation, National Water. I was asking them, this water that you are piping around the cities, do you know that now there is technology to create water from the sky? You just simply get a gadget, put it in the sky, and the water comes, clean water comes. What will happen when people stop thinking about your piped water or get alternatives for it? And for everybody who is in production, who has a customer today, their preoccupation should not be the customer of today. The customer of today, you have them, but what about the customer of tomorrow, the one who should be consuming your product tomorrow? You should create a product for that customer of tomorrow. And that in itself speaks to the education system, speaks to the health system, healthcare system, speaks to the system of governance of our country, of resources in this country, speaks to what we are telling our children today, speaks to the generation that our children are now living in today. If we don't address that issue and begin to see ourselves as productive rather than theorists, when I was growing up, it was our parents told us you need to be an economist, you need to be an accountant, you need to be a doctor, you need to be. Those things were pleasurable. But today, if you think through those things, I see people who come to ask for jobs. He's a medical doctor, but he's asking for a job as an accounts clerk. And you're asking yourself, where are we going? So I think the most important thing that we need to do as a country is to get on the road to skilling people and putting the skills right into people's hands so they're able to create and to allow innovation and nurture that innovation and allow the technologies to operate. From a policy point of view, do not tax avenues that are going to allow people to think, to do free thinking and free visualization of what is going to happen, so that at the end of the day, we're able to create the product for tomorrow. If you ask yourself, how did China become a net exporter? Every Chinese you find in China is thinking about how to export. Whatever they are doing, whatever little thing they are doing, they are thinking about, how do I get this done and I get to sell it abroad? But for us, when somebody says they are going into business, you know what that means? They are going to Dubai, they are going to China to import. We need to actually rethink the entire aspect of what we need to do today to make sure that we are relevant tomorrow. And that challenge is from a macroeconomic point of view and even from the micro level. Everybody needs to be thinking the same. The questions that we're asking the people that we interact with should be questions of looking to the future and developing the products on which you survive for the future.
Wow. I'm being really taught very well here on this platform. You outside there, if you miss this, it's up to you, but you cannot miss. And we must look into the future. If we do not plan for the future and look into the future, decide on which way to go. If you want to import more, then no, inflation will not go. If we think every day, what are we going to produce and export, then that's the genesis. That's a good point that has been taken home. I'd like to go back to you, Doc. This is a good time for us to share with the public on how we can move forward.
So I think that, thanks for my brother joining us. Like he said, I always also ask people that, have you tried to, you have a job, yes, you have a business, yes. How much do you earn per month? They say I earn this amount. I tell them how much do you earn per day? They divide it by 30. How much do you earn per hour? How much do you earn then to the microsecond? Then I tell them that, okay, let's go by the earnings of the day. So assuming that every day you're earning 20,000, because 20,000 times 30, let's say 30, isn't that about 600,000?
Yeah, that's about 600,000.
Yeah, roughly 600,000. But does anyone ever get cautious to know how much they are earning to the dot of the day, and then they can know how much they are supposed to spend every day? such that they can know how much they're supposed to spend. That is more of public financial management, you know, where one knows that I need to save for those hard times that will come, but also how much am I earning? Can I calculate it to the day? Then I'll know how much my liabilities, responsibilities. Of course, there are some assets which are in form of they are taking money. For example, if I invest in my children's school fees, to me, they are depleting my account, but I'm investing in them. So you see, so I have to calculate all that. But by the time my brother here joined us, we were talking about the bigger picture. That we were talking about the public expenditure, and I think I said that public expenditure has been reckless in Uganda. You'll find that it has been more of sector-based than program-based budgeting and financing. You'll find that why does one have to have a 4.5cc vehicle such that is known to be a civil servant or high profile in a company? Why not stay on the laurels that we once saw when this government was just coming in, when they said, ministers, all of you have to go to laurels. Our neighbor, some neighboring country, which I won't name, public officers don't own fleets of cars. No. Ministries don't.
They pay for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you either get a car loan, you own your car, take care of it. Exactly. Don't abuse a public, because you're driving a government car, you abuse it. If it's yours, you'll care for it, you know. And this whole budget that goes on to fleets of cars is reduced drastically, including the fuel consumption. Because those cars are always on the road, but they are filled with fuel. But also, if I know that I'm a driver and my tank is going to be filled by fuel, I might abuse it and start siphoning that fuel. But let's leave that alone. Just about NPA. That the institutions like NPA, Ministry of Finance, is BOU. Yeah, you see, here is what happens. That the National Planning Authority is an authority that is supposed to plan and analyze the different programs, projects which are delivered to it by ministries, and then it selects those which are a priority based on a national development plan and based on the trends which are happening regionally and in the country at that time. So basically they vet these projects that government sends in, and then they send them back to the ministries that you sent us 10 projects or programs, but this is the money we are going to allocate to you, and this is what we see as a priority as of now. Now, it's not NPA that decides. It goes back to the ministry. The ministry has to send it to the cabinet. Cabinet has to pass it on to parliament. It has to become part of the budget process through the parliament. So yes, would I say that the whole system needs to be overhauled? That is probably the point.
There is a challenge we face, and I just posed a question back to us. Yes. We tend to bring programs in Uganda. Part of the analytical question I bring to the viewers and us here, programs that Mr. Frederick talked about, some of the programs of government, which in the outlook looks to be good. Anyone can say this is what a way to go, parish development mode and so forth. Many we have had such before, including NADS. And also projects that you've mentioned, especially which are promised during election. We are going to establish iron ore in Kigezi. We are going to put the mining of wolfram in maybe West Nile. After the campaign, beside the national planning agenda that you've right now just shed on some light, everything ceases and it waits for another time when we are about to go for election. And as a matter of fact, by that time, the money, it seems to be, which would have done that, ends up not doing the best. Is this the way how it should remain? How can it be structured technically to minimize the lacunas Mr. Frederick was talking about?
So what I think is that as a country, we need to get back to the drawing board. There's always that chance and opportunity to get back to the drawing board, that we need to rethink. These days you hear it as a buzzword, import, export, substitution and all that. Do people get to understand the depth of what they are saying when they say that let us actually export more and import less? Because you have to know, do we have systems in place to enhance production, but also that production to what levels?
So dear viewers, you've heard, do we have systems in place to enhance production? Those are some of the obvious questions and answers that will lead us to resolve the inflation. Either we take the medicine, these are experts, we take the direction to decide which way to go, or we remain where we are and remain lamenting. But I pray we can be able to move forward and take heed of what can be able to save us. Stay tuned. See you in the next few minutes.